Hi, welcome to What's the Word? I'm your host, Jaime McFaden, and I'm so excited to have you here. This podcast is about all things wellness. Each week, we will focus on a word of the day, and I interview some of the most inspirational people I know and share that inspiration with you. Join me, let's learn together on What's the Word.
This is the place where I belong.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to What's the Word? I'm your host, Jaime McFaden, and I am so pumped about today's interview, and I know that you will be too. Today, we have Dr. Liz Letchford, who is a PhD in kinesiology or rehabilitation science, a personal trainer. She's like super badass at tonal. She created the release, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And she's just an overall superstar and really inspirational person that I myself look up to in so many ways. She's a beautiful human inside and out. And here we are, Dr. Liz Letchford. Did I say your last name correctly?
You did. Thank you so much, Jaime. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. I always appreciate like celebrating each other. So I feel so celebrated. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. It is truly an honor to have you here today. And we're going to dive right in. So every guest chooses a word, and you chose one of my favorite words, truth, which by definition means the quality or state of being true. So can you just share with us, anyone that's listening or watching right now, why did you choose that word and how is it resonating with you right now?
Oh, girl, let me tell you. So truth has been my word this year. Last year, my word was power, and I really stepped into my own confidence and my own power. And then I recognized that there were a few things in my life that were out of alignment, or that I was lying to myself and really not digging into what was true for me. So to me, truth means in any moment, being honest with myself, being honest with others, going after what is resonant with me in my actual personhood, my actual truth, not my not making a decision based on the perception of truth, but my actual truth. And so that covers and shows up in every aspect of my life, from my relationship to my sexuality, to my business, to my mission in the world. And so when all of that is in alignment, when all of that is, I'm approaching that with truth, it feels so good.
Yes. Oh, now for anyone listening, because I guarantee there's someone out there thinking this right now, how does one differentiate their authentic truth versus all the noise?
Yeah.
How do we do that?
So in my work, I really focus on the mind-body connection, the somatic or the body experience. So how does something show up and feel in your body? So first, what I recommend, what I had to work on for myself was just, how does this experience feel in my body? If I'm going to go and tell someone, oh my gosh, yeah, I totally enjoy running, and then my stomach goes like, that's a sign that that's not my truth. And I'm just trying to impress that person. But my truth is, you know what? I don't enjoy running for these reasons, and this is what I do instead, without the fear of judgment from that person. So the first thing is checking in with how your body feels at all times. Taking time to say, what is my natural state? How does my body show up when I'm feeling anxious? How does my body show up when I'm feeling overjoyed? How does my body show up when I'm feeling sad, angry, you name it? Noticing where your body holds that tension is one of the best ways to get feedback as to what is then true. And I struggled with this forever. In high school, I was looking at other people like, what is your truth? Because I need to test if that feels true for me. And all the way up until recently, I realized I was putting myself in a very small box. From the media I was consuming growing up to the people that I was surrounded with as I was building my business, I didn't find anybody that really felt true in my body. I didn't really find like, oh, that person's doing what I want to do. They're saying what I want to say, that's a good role model for me. I never found that. And so recently I discovered that my truth around my sexuality is that I'm actually queer. Whereas this whole time I was feeling really strange in my heteronormative relationships, being like, oh, I just feel so boxed in and burdened and uncomfortable in my body. I was so anxious all the time. And so when I finally allowed myself to just surrender into what my truth was, turns out I don't fit into a box. Same with fitness. When I was first starting my business, I was trying to model myself after what I saw so much in fitness marketing. Like, okay, I have to look this way. I have to say these things. I have to teach a class this way. And I felt so gross in my body. I was like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. I had like weird imposter syndrome around it. And when I finally relaxed and listened to my body and what was true, it turns out I'm this whole different category of fitness, which is the intersection of fitness and rehabilitation. And so my friendships followed the same thing. My relationships followed the same pattern of like, before everything felt so chaotic and felt so weird in my body. And I was just like stewing in it all and being like, I don't know what I believe. I don't know what I feel. I don't know what's true for me until I tapped into the somatic experience of truth in my body. And now it's such a cool challenge, like to just be honest with people. One of my favorite phrases that I play in my head all the time is love people and tell them the truth.
Love people and tell them the truth. Okay, hold on one second. Pause. Only because there's a gardener that just, we're just going to tell him, we're going to tell him the truth. We're going to be like,
yo, I love you, but you got to get the fuck out of here.
Thank you. Love you, but please turn that shit off. Thanks, Lou. Sorry. That was actually a perfect moment where like there was a pause. Because I was like, oh, this is so good. And I was like, please. And then he was coming like closer to the door. I was like, shit. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to pick it up from the beautiful phrase that you just said about being your truth. What did you say?
Love people and tell them.
Oh yeah. Love people and tell them the truth. And okay. So let's get into that. Love people and tell them the truth. I live my life as much of that as I can, but I'll admit that can be really hard sometimes. Not the loving people, but the telling your truth.
Why?
I think because of certain conditioning, like there's a lot of conditioning that I'll wholeheartedly admit, I grew up as a total people pleaser and, grew up with a bunch of old school Greek women that our whole life was wrapped around being in the kitchen and not being, I was the first woman to get educated. So for anyone listening right now, I want to dive into that a little bit more because I think that there's something really big there that so many of, I know my listeners and viewers will get something out of. And you, first of all, I want to take a moment to honor you living your truth and sharing your truth, because I'm certain that journey isn't always easy. And I would love to hear even on tapping into that, like, how has that been for you? Because I'm, as much as you're saying right now, how great it feels that you stepped into it. Well, you had to step through, I'm sure, a portal of maybe some bullshit along the way.
So much.
So can you kind of go into that? Because I think for me and a lot of people, I feel like the loving others, I don't know. I think that can sometimes come easier than and maybe that's just me, but speaking up about your truth, once you define that, like, how has that affected you?
So I've also been a people pleaser my whole life. It's the way that I grew up. And the reason that I have trouble telling the truth, I've discovered, is because I grew up in a household where my upset, my opinions weren't appropriate. So if I disagreed with something my parents said, it was not appropriate because the parents were the boss. And so that created a conditioning in me. And I know people in my generation, people around my same age might have had a similar experience, because it was like, you be quiet, you be a good kid, do what you're told. And so I spent my entire life thinking that my emotional experience and my truth was not welcome. So naturally, it's going to be really tough to think, okay, when I'm experiencing a truth that's in disagreement with what your experience or your truth is, it's not safe. And so there's this emotional reaction in my body. And so going through that and overcoming that is such a challenge, because now you're at war with your own visceral experience. You're like, I want to tell this person the truth. I want to share my own experience of you've reached a boundary, or that's actually not what I believe, or I'm going to disagree with you. And for those of us who grew up the same way that I did, where it might've been unsafe, in any sense of the word, unsafe to share that you're disagreeing with somebody's situation, that can be a whole terrifying experience. So that's the part where I had to bravely walk through the fire of practicing sharing my truth. And it started small. It started with, hey, actually, I don't want to go to this place for lunch. Small truths. Right. To I need to leave this relationship. To, hey, parents, like when you do this, it actually makes me feel this way, gulp. Yeah. So, and then the more that you practice it, the more that I practice it, starting small, starting with things that maybe didn't carry as much weight, the easier it got to share my truth. And then instead of, I noticed myself too, being very apologetic at first, like, hey, here's how I feel, but like, I'm so sorry if it, yeah. And I witnessed myself doing that, and it took away my power. I didn't feel good. That didn't feel good in my body. And therefore that wasn't in alignment. That wasn't my truth. So my truth is, I feel powerful when I stand in my sovereignty. I feel powerful when I'm able to share from my heart, when I'm able to love others from a place of, I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone. I just love you. Yeah. I just care about you. I care about your heart. If we reach a boundary, I will tell you, but I'm going to love you through that.
That's beautiful. Are there any specific things that you can pick up on right away that helped get you there? I mean, certainly you're you're a doctor in kinesiology and rehabilitation specialist, and you have created so many programs like The Release, and you're, one of the leads on Tonal. You're definitely a leader in the industry in so many different ways. And yet here you are speaking your truth about, let's just take, for example, what you just brought up, where, some of the conditioning you had as a child, and then having to say, no, that actually isn't what I believe, or that actually isn't how I feel or who I am. Are there any specific things that you could say that were like, yep, that was an aha moment for me? Because I like that you said it's kind of like training muscles. I feel like working on boundaries and working on that. Like, I've been in years of therapy to uncondition, to unlearn stuff, so that I can then approach things with a more open mind, to be more curious, to allow myself to be myself. And I, of course, wish and would love for everyone to have that same feeling of opportunity. But for you personally, is there anything, that sticks out where you're like, okay, these were certain aha moments?
When I went on my first date with a woman, I was like, oh, oh, like this is what they sing all the songs about, and this is what it should feel like. And that was a whole spin because, I was like, whoa, like society views me one way, and now I'm doing this thing. And so when I finally came out publicly, which is a thing that I had to do, which nowadays it's like, great, you're queer, you're fluid, you're whatever, it's cool. But when I came out publicly, it felt like this giant weight off my shoulders, and it gave me permission in the rest of my life to not do what society expects me to do. I mean, Jamie, I was class president, straight A, like I was all of the like please love me. Like I'm doing the good thing, you know, I'm going to go get my PhD. Isn't that impressive? You know, everybody, you know, I was like trying to water myself down to be palatable to as many people as possible. I lived my life to be appealing to as many people as possible because it's that people pleaser safety, like cage that I was putting myself in. And so when I finally said, okay, this is going to really piss off a whole subset of the population, I was like, whoa, but it feels great. And after I had a funeral for the idea that I'm going to be palatable to everyone, I was like, where else in my life can I just be honest with myself and like break free from this cage that I've put myself in? And turns out I'm a big weirdo. And turns out I like all these weird things, and I love the word weird. I
love it. I say weird all the time, and I'm like, oh yeah, I mean it in the most. I think weird is one of the most beautiful things.
Honorable way, yes.
100%.
And it turns out that the way that I was living my life, if I look back, and I noticed in the moment, even 2 years ago, 5 years ago, definitely 10 years ago, I noticed in the moment this like, I have so much anxiety. How can I fix the anxiety? Is it through yoga? Is it through meditation? Is it through a diet change? I feel like my energy is so low. Those things weren't an actual, I was looking for like a underlying condition for why I felt so weak and so tired and so out of alignment and so just fucking sad.
Yeah.
It was because I wasn't living my truth. And now that I am so curious and so hungry for alignment in every moment, in every day, in everything that I do, in every activity that I put myself in every situation that I'm in, my energy and my stamina and my strength and my workout results and my health have all elevated because I'm not leaking energy into a place where I feel out of alignment, into something that isn't my truth. And so I know there are people listening who are like, whoa, I've gone to the naturopath and the doctor and this and that, and I still feel tired and weak. Examine your life and examine where you might not be living your truth, and then get real curious about where you might be able to be honest with yourself and see what happens with your energy.
Beautifully stated. Getting curious, asking questions, bringing awareness. And you brought up the word weird, which is one of my favorites of all. Can you share some of your weirdness that you've discovered now?
Oh man.
Can we go there?
So I haven't announced this publicly yet, but I was at a party with a bunch of my amazing friends. I now have this amazing supportive community of people who are in alignment with my beliefs, who challenge me, who support me, who celebrate me. It's such a cool community. And it happened because I was in my truth and I was honest with myself. So I saw the truth in them. So we're on that same wavelength. So I was at a party and I met, I was dancing. It was so fun. I was on the dance floor, like just dancing with everyone. And then me and this guy started dancing together. And all of a sudden at the same time, we looked in each other's eyes and it was like, it's you. And I go, I think you can hold all of me. And he goes, and I think you can hold all of me. And so we had this swirl on the dance floor. It was like no one else existed. I was like, what is happening right now? And then I told him, this is extra weird because I haven't actually like dated or been with a man in several years. And he goes, I've actually never dated a woman. So whatever that weird bisexual thing, that is how out of the box, unorthodox, like if I would have put myself in like oh, no, I'm only this, then I would have never had that beautiful. And now I'm in the most loving relationship with someone who meets me on every level. And we just like get each other because we're both equal and opposite weird. Mm-hmm. And if I would have never opened myself up and been honest with myself and worried like, oh no, everyone's going to think I'm this, or I'm that, or now I can't think of myself. Just, I'm open now. I'm so open to whatever feels true in the moment that I opened into this beautiful depth of love. And so, look, I get that it's super unconventional. No one's written a book about this.
Hey,
so
you got a book to write.
Right. And so we're navigating this from a place of heart and from truth and from love. And so that's one big, like,
we get the gush on this show. What's the word? We got the gush of Dr. Liz. Yeah. We're getting weird. Yes.
So weird. And even where I show up in the fitness space, my background is in sports medicine, and I was an EMT, and I was very much trained in the Western philosophy of like, here's the injury, here's the protocol, here's the outcome. But when I was an EMT, my body felt like, or I noticed in my body a contraction around the way that we were treating patients, the way that my colleagues would treat patients. And as an EMT, I'm meeting people on the worst day of their life. Truly, it's an emergency every time. It's someone's like panic situation. They're terrified. And so I always was so confused as to why we weren't addressing that as much as we could as practitioners, as clinicians, as healers, if you want to call it. And so I recognized that in sports medicine, I recognized that in emergency medicine. And I actually got out of that traditional role as a clinician because I wanted to do things my way. I didn't want to be affiliated with a team where I could only meet people at a clinical level. I wanted to meet them on the human level. So I, right now in my practice and in my research, I'm addressing the emotional component of movement, which those studies only exist in psychotherapy journals.
Yeah.
No studies actually exist in like the Journal of Biomechanics. So my dissertation was on biomechanics of movement. I took a look at why female athletes are more susceptible to ACL tears and ACL and lower extremity injuries. And I did the study. It was biomechanics focused, but my follow-up study is going to be, okay, let's take a look at their stress levels, their feeling, their sexuality, their relationship to their sexuality, their relationship to their power. And then can we come up with a different out of the box weird reason as to why this is happening in crazy 6 times as many ACL injuries in female athletes as male athletes. And it's not because I know people think, oh, the Q angle and like just women's bodies are not destined for injury. Like, give me a break. So, and I can say that from a place of literally my PhD is in women's injuries.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
If anyone wants to write a comment, like come after me, come at me. But women's bodies are not set up for injury. So there's got to be some other connection, some weakness in the pelvic floor, perhaps, or the relationship to the hips. You can imagine my hypothesis is our relationship to our pelvic floor, our sexuality in any way connected to the strength of our pelvic floor, which stabilizes our hips, which prevents knee injury. So you can kind of see the through line there that hasn't yet really been tapped into, that I'm very excited to start having that conversation.
Certainly. And I think a great conversation to be had, which trickles into my next question, which is really about how much of what you do, of the rehabilitation and working with clients that you do, because you, I think, train clients one-on-one or work with clients one-on-one. You also are, one of the leading experts and coaches on tonal. You also have created the release. Is there anything I'm missing?
That's it so far.
For right now. I mean, you've worked on it, and I mean, you've done a ton of stuff. For anyone that's listening, that's going, gosh, I really want to, work with her. I want to reach out to her. I want to make sure that they know. And obviously I'll share all your links and everything else. But how much would you say of rehabilitation and the work that you do also taps into the mental, the emotional, like the spiritual, like all of that? How much of it?
I'm not one for arbitrary percentages, but a lot of it.
Yeah.
So I always look at the whole person. And even though my protocol might be similar between two people, my approach, my delivery, the things that I'm considering are going to be completely different for someone who's just coming off of a chronic or dealing with a chronic illness, versus someone who's feeling pretty solid and met in all areas of their life. That language is going to be different. What I'm considering is going to be different. I actually, for the most part, for the people that I work with one-on-one, I give their emotions a stage. So I ask them to be very honest with me. So I imbue this virtue of truth into our sessions. And I say, you can't offend me. Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me what comes up in the moment. And it can be a real challenge for people, but so healing. But some things that have come up in the past is anger. Hey, Liz, I'm feeling very angry right now. And I'm like, great, let's give that anger a fucking runway. Let's let it walk down in its sassy little skirt and strike a pose. And so I'll put on like death metal music and allow them to express their anger. And then we do some like recovery and aftercare. And turns out the next session, they're able to connect to their body more. They're able to have stronger core strength. So that's where my hypothesis came from when it comes to the emotional component of movement and injury prevention and sport performance. And so that's where a lot of my research, a lot of my questions are coming from. So every single session, I'm considering the whole person, their whole experience. Where are you leaking energy? Because if you come to me and you're like, hey, like my shoulder hurts, so I just want a rehab program, we're going to talk about why that shoulder's hurting, how it's affecting you now, the way that you can implement this rehab program into your stressful life, all of it. Right. So it's always an underlying thread. And even the content that I put on tonal, people reach out to me after doing my sessions on tonal and they're like, Liz, I cried my eyes out during your class because I finally felt like I had permission to feel the way that I feel. I had permission to not judge myself. So all of it, it's in everything that I'm doing, from my research partnerships with universities to my corporate tonal like situation, to of course the release class, which is a self-massage class where it's all about that. Like, feel into this tight pain in your shoulders. What's your body telling you? Ask it. It's set to sexy music. It's a whole massage experience. It's my baby for sure.
Okay. Well, actually, I want to learn a little bit more about the release because I certainly want to join and check it out and get involved with that. I recently launched a self-care community and brand, and the whole point around it is to work together alongside people like yourself in different areas of self-care. So I have financial gurus that, they work with my clients. I have therapists that I refer them to. I have doctors and, spiritual guides that take them on ayahuasca trips, and you name it. It's like, my whole goal is self-care is not a linear experience. Just like you're describing, you've been to many, many years of school, and in school, no matter what, we're taught there's a system, there's a strategic, this is the issue. Here's how we treat it. This is boom. Right. Whereas you are telling everyone, and anyone that's listening, I say the same things. Always ask questions, always be curious. And at the end of the day, nobody knows you better than you. And unfortunately, so many of us have gotten lost. So that, I get clients, I work in Silicon Valley. I get clients that come to me, and I think you were here at one point. And I get clients that come to me and they've got all the things, right? They've got the career, they've got the spouse, they've got the kids, they've got the dog, they've got the travel, they've got, all the things. And at the end of the day, they're so disconnected from themselves that half the time our session is just me listening to how they're feeling. And we go for a walk or, whatever else. But the reality is that one session might open them up to actually begin to ask those questions of, what is it that I need? What am I doing for self-care? Sure, I'm doing all the showy stuff like you and I talked about, the like performance, like, look, mom, I'm doing all the things, right? But at the end of the day, if we don't know what it is that we truly need, and what you're doing is so important, and it's going to continue to get more and more important, because now we're starting to wake up and realize we know we have this one vessel while we are here. So whatever theories anyone has on where we go after, what we do before, this, that, the other, that's all wonderful, but that doesn't that doesn't denote the fact that like, this is our one body we have. So how can we connect to it from the inside to the outside? And with what you're doing, I have to give you the biggest shout out. And I want to know, please tell us a little bit more about the release. Tell us a little bit about, what is it that, because I want so much for my clients, for anyone that's listening right now, that's part of the WAVE program, that's my program. I want you to take the release with Liz, Dr. Liz. I want you to, check her out. If you have a tonal, check her out if you are thinking of getting one. But tell us a little bit about what you're doing, because you are truly a pioneer in the industry. And I certainly am inspired by you daily.
Thank you, Jamie. The release at its most basic level speaks to and gives a protocol to the truth that our bodies hold all the information we need for healing. They've done studies to associate the chakras of the body with actual medical, like there's a medical truth is aligned with the different chakras of the body. So being able to identify where things are out of alignment. And so the release, I take people, we use massage balls or stretching or movement, and I take people through a journey. We start at the feet and we work our way up to the neck, and I teach them how to self-massage. And throughout the way, I've got the lights are cool and colored, and the lights are dim, and you've got sexy music playing, and it's an invitation to get out of your head and into your body. Because you have information in your body right now. We all do right now. And if you were to listen right now, what is my body telling me? Where do I feel the tension? And what is that trying to communicate to me? You would be blown away at the insights that you hold, that we've all just been going to the doctor and going to the physical therapist and going to whoever, which by all means, please continue to do that. But also understand that you have an incredible capacity to heal yourself with the information and the relationship to the truth in your body. And so I just give people, 60 minutes, 90 minutes to practice that, to practice their relationship to discomfort, to notice what the tension in their shoulders, the tension in their jaw is from, to discover that they actually have an incredible tension in living in their hips, and what are they protecting? What are they hiding from? So to give a safe space to dive deep into that. And then if someone's really not feeling that depth for the day, it's an incredible self-massage, which has an impact on the lymphatic system, on mind-muscle connection, on proprioception, which is the body's awareness of itself, on muscle recovery. So even if you're like, cool, Liz, not really interested in that today, it's been a tough day, I just want to get the benefits for my performance and for my recovery, then it's also that. So yes. It's a win-win.
I love it. And now, is this something, I know, I have your website, like I said, and I'll share that. Is this something that people can join, whenever? Is it a membership? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So I encourage people to join the email list to find out about, I'm going on tour and I'll be teaching the release in different cities. So sign up to the email list. There's also an opportunity to purchase over the lockdown. I did a series of about 8 months actually of virtual releases over Zoom, where it was previously just available in person.
Right.
And so there's the ability to purchase a pre-recorded virtual release if you want to get a taste of what it is. You can also find a couple of sessions on YouTube if you're just curious and want to dip your toe in. You can just search for Liz Letchford and release.
Oh, so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, because that is something I definitely want to check it out. I want for all my people to check it out. And the more that we can help encourage others, right? Like you and I are both servers of the community, also by trying to do our best to lead by example. So here you are, coming out, living your truth, literally in all areas, and encouraging others to do the same, and to get curious within yourself, to define what it is that you may need, or where you aren't living your truth. And I love that you brought up so much of the proprioception, your body's awareness in space. If we're not aware, how can we make a change? And I certainly hope, and I'm sure of this, that at least one person listening today is going to go, oh, wow, I feel something in my body that I've never even addressed. I'm sure you and I both hear this all the time, right? The tears. I do walking meditations. I never thought that that would become a thing. And it has become, certainly over the last few years, a thing, because people sometimes just need to get out of their head. And sometimes they can't get out of their head unless they're moving, and they kind of need the encouragement of someone telling them what to think about, so that they're thinking about their body. But what are you right now, as we're wrapping up, obviously, some of the craziest couple years that my grandma, who's 90, she's like, she's lived through wars, and she's like, Jamie, I've never in my life thought I would experience just like, real, like almost zombie stuff. But do you have any bits of advice that you would offer to anyone listening right now? Because a lot of people are going through a tough time when it comes to, the struggle and the reality that a lot of people are going through a struggle right now. And how would you suggest people giving themselves the true self-care that they need, or the love that they need? Do you have any advice that you'd give going through this? Because there's so much noise out there in the media, and, I think that it's going to start to there's going to be a big reality, and it's happening now, and now more again for people like you and I. There's more eyes on us, and there's people that are listening going, you know what? I don't want to just take that pill anymore. I don't want to, so let's be truthful about that. Like, what would you say to someone that's struggling?
Great question. I know that anytime someone's come to me feeling the struggle, I would say, take a moment for yourself. Take a moment to get out of your head, get into your body. You deserve it. There are a lot of answers there. And it doesn't have to look any certain way. There's no right way to do it. There's no wrong way to do it. If it feels good, keep going. And if it feels bad, get curious about why it feels bad. That there's a lot of information there. So whatever you're going through, how does it feel in your body? Like, your body has so many answers and an incredible capacity to just heal. And that healing isn't just in your joints and your bones and your muscles and your blood. It's also your perception of the world. Because I do live in my truth. I do prioritize being very honest and very, very open book about everything that I'm struggling.
Can you hear me?
Hey,
wait, forgive me. It just cut out. I was like, oh no, okay. You're like, because, so it cut you off when you said, because I'm being honest in my truth. Okay. So right there, go.
So because I'm actually living in my truth, it frees up all of this space. And I'm such an open book when it comes to sharing what I'm going through, sharing what my struggles are. And that has been so liberating. And I know that the reason we don't share our truth is because we believe it won't be held. So if you can make a promise to yourself that you'll hold someone else's truth, that you'll hold space for them and without judgment, without trying to make it about you, if you can just be like, I'm here and I love you and I'm here to listen, you better believe that that's going to be reciprocated for you. So if we can just create that shift, pick one friend and be like, you know what, I'd love to share a truth. I'd love to share my truth. Can you just hold that, ask for what you need, and gives that person permission to ask for what they need. And it will be this ripple effect of, we're not all just trying to fake it to impress each other anymore. We're radically honest with each other. And that's how we're going to change the world. That's how you're going to change your body and change your experience. And sometimes the truth is it's going to be painful, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. That's okay.
Oh, I love that. You just gave permission, because now we have a doctor here we're talking to, gave permission that sometimes it's okay to feel even the things that don't feel so great.
Always. It's always a good feeling.
And I think that reminder is really important. And to also, like you said, ask for what we need, ask for someone to hold space so that we can share and have our truth be honored, or at least shared. And then doing that same thing for ourselves and someone else. I think the more that we can do that, which is why I so bad certainly wanted to get you on What's the Word, because everything that you put out there, you radiate genuinely the energy. Like, I feel your energy. We're not in the same city, we're not in the same room, but like, I feel you. I can't wait, for the day that we can be doing that. But until then, to continue spreading this love and spreading this truth by leading by example and doing the best that we can. So with that being said, we're going to wrap this up. But before we do, is there any final words you'd like to give to someone listening right now? Anything at all? The stage is yours.
Oh, I better make these good words.
Damn straight.
I think the final words is if you could just, like, of course you're struggling. Of course you're angry. Of course you're sad. Of course that thing that you went through, of course you're feeling that way. So let's stop shaming ourselves for feeling down and for not being positive all the time. Toxic positivity is a real thing. So honoring, feeling your feelings, meaning like, I'm angry. What does anger sound like? I'm sad. Give that sadness a voice. There's a lot of freedom there. And I encourage you to gently and safely explore that.
Yes. You're such a badass. Such a badass. Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, I do a little speed round. So first thing that comes to mind, this is just now we just throw away all the depth for a moment. Let's just have fun. Pizza or tacos?
What was that?
Pizza or tacos?
Tacos.
Okay, great. If you had any superpower, what would it be?
X-ray vision.
Ooh, girl.
Careful.
Yeah. I've never gotten that one before. That's fun. Okay, since we're going there, biggest turn on?
Vulnerability.
Ooh. And biggest turn off?
Inauthenticity.
Favorite exercise?
Like movement, bird dog with row. I don't know why.
Love. Least favorite exercise?
Front squats.
If there was anywhere you could travel to right this minute, where would you be?
I would be in Costa Rica.
Nice. And do you have a favorite celebrity moment?
Yes.
Do tell.
Oh no. I don't know can I tell this? Okay, I'm gonna tell a different one. So I know NDAs.
It's okay. No, I don't get that.
So I have been a huge fan of Olivia Wilde ever since in high school. People were like, Liz, you know who you look like? Olivia Wilde. So naturally I was like, every time I go to the hairdresser, I'd like send them a picture of Olivia Wilde's haircut, right? Like that was my little celebrity doppelganger. So she came to visit at a studio I was teaching at in San Francisco. As a director, she was promoting her film. And I got a chance. There was supposed to be a meet and greet after. I had this whole thing in my head of like, okay, what am I going to say to Olivia Wilde, who I've been following for 10 years? I know all of it. It's so weird. I'm not a celebrity like crush person, but I was just like, wow, I have so much respect for her. She's an actual amazing badass. And so I get like, they're rushed out the door. They're late to their next showing. And the owner of the gym knows how much of a fan I am and is like, Liz, before she goes, like you guys should meet. And so it was also rushed. And I was like, there was like a chair in front of me. So I'm like reaching over the chair to shake Olivia's hand. I'm like, this is so weird and not ideal. And here we are. Okay, great. And what I say is, I turned to her, to the leads in the show in the movie that she directed. And I go, so she's my celebrity doppelganger. Cause I felt like I needed a reason to be like, this is why it was so important for us to meet. And then the owner of the facility just kept talking and like bragging on me. And I'm like, no. I just want to have a conversation with Olivia. And then they had to go. And I was like, what? The only thing I told to my idol of 10 years is, hey, you're my celebrity doppelganger. Cool. Like it was so, and I had this whole plan in my mind where I would say that and then be like, and so I've been following you and I really respect everything you're doing. I love what you're doing in the community. And I love how you're like changing the world with your directing style. And I just got out, you're my celebrity doppelganger.
Well, maybe Olivia Wilde is going to listen to this podcast. So here now you've hopefully been able to redeem yourself.
Oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing.
No, it's so great. It's so wonderful and so lovely. Okay. Last question.
Cool.
Go-to karaoke song.
Valerie by Amy Winehouse.
Oh, such a good one. All right. Love it so much. Dr. Liz, you are truly an inspiration, to say the least. You are leading with love and truth and honoring that. And I honor that in you. I love being a part of your world. I'm thankful that you're a part of my world. I can't wait for us to bring our worlds a little bit closer together, literally. But to anyone that's listening right now, be sure to check out Dr. Liz. I'll be sharing everything. Check out the release and let us know how you like this podcast. Let us know, drop some comments. Maybe we'll do a little Q&A and have some fun and tell some more truth. So I love that. You are so amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so good.
Thank you for joining me here at What's the Word. Follow us on social media with the links on the screen, and don't forget to like and share with your friend. Your support helps us grow and continue to make inspirational content. See you next time on What's the Word.